Alright, so welcome back. So, today, we are finally making another video. Today, we're going to be doing a double lift tutorial. Now, what is a double lift? Well, it's basically, it's very self-explanatory. I'll tell you one of the very basic things you can do with it. You can go ahead and you can say, alright, so I've got the ace of spades here. Now we're going to flip that back over and place the ace of spades down here. Now I've got this completely random card, and we're just going to wave around, and that completely random card turns into that ace of spades. Okay, now, basically, what I just did there was I lifted up two cards at once, because the top card is the queen of clubs. Okay, so what I'm going to make it look like the top card is the ace of spades. Okay, now, what does that provide? Well, it's necessary in many magic tricks. There's a lot of magic tricks. There's one particular trick that I'm going to teach you in either tomorrow or the next day. And I'm going to teach you that, but I need you to know the double lift first. So I'm doing this tutorial first, then I'm going to be teaching you a trick that uses the double lift, okay? So, how are we going to use this? Well, how are we going to do this, not use this? We're going to cover that in a little bit, but, there is, like I said, lots of applications. Let's start this tutorial. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your deck of cards, and the easiest way to riffle, the easiest way to do a double lift, which a lot of beginners do, and you know, it's alright at first, but you really need to learn how to do a proper double lift. There's many ways to do it. There's easier ways, there's harder ways. We're going to be covering an easy way, but one of the ways that a lot of people do it is they lift it up and they show you, bam, like this. Okay? That isn't, it's easiest, but there's one just as easy that looks a whole lot better, okay? That one, if done right, can look decent to somebody who's never seen a double lift before, but if somebody, even if they don't know magic, people kind of depend, especially your like family, they kind of catch on to double lifts, especially if you have a sloppy double lift. It's kind of, well, it's kind of really obvious, and you don't want that. And if you have a double lift like this, people are really going to catch on. Okay, because that's not how you lift up a card. You don't lift up a card like this. You flip it over. That's the natural thing to do. You flip it over, it's on the top of the deck. Bam, natural. Now how do we take this motion? And make it look natural, okay? How do we make the double lift look like a single lift? Okay, it's going to look very similar if you can do it right, but it's still going to have a difference, okay? You can tell if somebody's doing a double lift if you look for it, but if you're good enough at it and nobody's looking for it, you can get away with it, okay? And this one is a very popular one for beginners, and it's very easy for beginners. So let's get into it. So first off, you're going to take the deck and you're going to bevel it a little, okay? Okay, the bevel is just to help you, but you're gonna kind of bevel it like that much. It's not straight, it's kind of like beveled. That is plenty. You don't need to go overkill and go this far, okay? You can just, like, that far is plenty. That's actually perfect. That's what you want. Okay, now you do that and you're in this position, and now what you do is when you have it beveled, you're going to take your index finger or your middle finger, but it's easiest with your index finger, I find. For me, you may find different. Basically, all you have to do is you riffle up until you can feel those last two cards, okay? It's going to take some practice, but once you get it, it's going to be easy. You can feel those natural those last two cards without even riffling almost. And then you just, now the goal isn't getting those two cards, the goal is to make it look like those two cards are one, okay? So it's a lot easier when you bevel, and then you lift up those two cards, you flip them over naturally, okay? A lot of times you see beginners doing this. They want to keep their double lift as tight as possible, okay? They want to do that. That is not natural, okay? When you're dealing with a single card, you don't do this. You do this. You throw it, okay? You want to be natural with it, okay? You want to make that single card look like, you want to make the two cards look like one card. So how are you going to do that? Well, let me give you a secret. You take the two cards and you flip them over like that. That is the main key, okay? That is the main key to do that. You flip them over naturally. I don't want to see you guys doing this, okay? It's a very, very hard thing for beginners to get, because they think that any little detail that's slipping, they're going to be like, oh gosh, they're going to notice that. But if it slides like that much, nobody's going to notice, because especially if you have a deck with white borders like this one, and which most decks should be that you're using for Magic. Actually, all decks that you are using for Magic should be white borders. Better, because a lot of times the faces of cards are white. So, if you can hide, and the reason that that's so important is when you flip over that card, if it slips a little, then nobody's going to notice, okay? But if this is black, and then the top two cards are white, they're going to notice if all of a sudden it slips a little, okay? Even if it doesn't slip enough to show the actual lettering of the card, they're still going to notice, especially with black borders. But if you're using white borders, you are not going to have this problem. You can just throw it on top of there, okay? Just be natural with it. Don't be funky, tight, concealing. They're not going to see it if you practice enough. Maybe it's not going to look that clean. Maybe, and you're definitely going to have some triple lifts, quadruple lifts, a single lifts even. You're not going to get the perfect right away. But the main thing you need to do is not, obviously you need to get those last two cards every single time. But you need to be able to be natural with those two cards. Okay? Even if you took those two cards and you had them perfectly, you can grab those two cards every single time. If you're not natural with those two cards, nobody's going to believe it, okay? Nobody. You've got to be natural, and even if they're not looking for it, they can tell something suspicious happened, and they're going to call you out. Well, you handled the card suspiciously, okay? They don't know exactly what you did, but they know you did something suspicious, and that throws them off, and you want to be as unsuspicious as possible. You want to, basically, you want to be natural. That's the word, okay? You want to be as natural as possible. You want to, especially the main thing in a double lift is you want it to look like a single lift. Want it to look like you're just lifting the top card off the deck and showing it to them, okay? No matter what you're going to do with that card, you want to have it look like a single card, obviously. So, that's basically the double lift tutorial. Just be smooth, and the more smooth it is, the more believable the double lift will be, okay? That's the main key things you should take away from this video. Obviously, practice this trick. This move. It's not really a trick, it's a move. That is all I gotta say for today. So, tomorrow or the next day, you'll be learning a trick that you can use this move on. I'll see you guys there. And if you haven't seen all my videos yet, I would recommend going and watching them. Even if they are really bad, like my first couple videos are not very good. They're not bad, but they're not good. But that's all I gotta say. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Magic!